Falcon fans, Falcon Nation, welcome to the one and only Dirty Fanatics United. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment. We are your Atlanta Falcon content creators, bringing you straight facts and straight stats on exactly what the Atlanta Falcons do in the offseason, coming into the draft, going into free agency. We're talking about combine prospects. Hit that bell because, guys, we're going to have a lot of content that comes out in the next month or so. I mean, there's going to be so much content that's able to be pushed out that DFU will be sure to get to you guys with. Before we get into the topics and the conversation of Falcon football, Cody, Robert, appreciate you guys being here tonight to talk some Falcon football. It's been a long week. We were supposed to go live Friday, but we pushed it back to a Sunday night show. It's 8:30 here where I'm at. Glad to have you guys here tonight. Cody, what's going on, man? How's life been treating you?
Good, man. I would say it's been, like I said, another busy work week, another 6 days, this will be the first weekend that I don't have to do 6. So looking forward to that, but we got to do taxes instead. So that's always fun. But other than that, man, just looking forward to a busy off season. So
the taxes thing, when you said taxes, I think I'm filing mine Wednesday. I'm late on that as well. Kind of dreading that process right now.
Yes.
Not wanting to pay any money into that. But Cody, glad to hear you've been doing well, brother. We got some great topics today as far as free agency, tracking, combine specialists, who the Falcons could look at, what a big name would be the Falcons could grab. The title of today's show is Falcons Free Agency Blueprint, Splash Signing or Smart Build. Robert, with that, what's going on, man? How you doing? Glad to have you here tonight. Some big topics on a topic that you seem to nail very, very well last year in this era, around this time last season. The pick was announced that Robert said the Atlanta Falcons would draft James Pierce Jr. in the first round. The Falcons lead up to do so. Robert predicted that, yes, around this time last year, Robert predicted who that draft selection would be. So we got a lot of topics to talk about tonight. Robert's going to give his insights on who he thinks a big free agency signing could be and what to look for in this upcoming draft. Robert, what's going on? How's life treating you? How's the eye surgery been since that? How's recovery doing? And just what's been going on, dog?
Recovery's going well. The vision's slowly coming back in the right eye. Got to follow up with the retina specialist this coming Thursday. There is a little fluid built up. It's not really attaching in one tiny little spot like it should, but hopefully, get good news and won't have to be doing any more surgeries, at least not for a while. This time of year, talking about taxes and stuff like that, it's a dreadful process for me. I'm looking at Thursday to get mine done, and being out so much this past year, with the surgeries, I don't know how that's going to affect things, but hey, any day above dirt's a good day, and any day we can talk Falcon football, especially in the off season, it's a good day.
Absolutely, Robert. You hit the nail on the head with that. It is a great day. If there's air in these lungs, it is a great day to talk some Falcon football. So big shout out to everybody that's tuned in tonight. Y'all hit that like button. Come through with the comments, guys. We did a live raffle last week, Sunday night, or was that throughout the week? I can't remember what night that podcast was, but we did the live
Sunday,
raffle.
Yeah, I think it was
Sunday night raffle. The Atlanta Falcon hoodie, the Julio Jones bobblehead, and the Atlanta Falcon flag has been claimed. We're waiting on 3 winners to pop up in a live. I know YouTube's been having some issues here lately, so please bear with us as we go through the struggle. Twitter as well, there's been some issues. It says live streaming on Twitter, experiencing issues with live streaming. If you can't find your live on X, you can manually post it by following our guidelines. So we may not even be on Twitter right now, guys. So we're just going to continue pushing out this content. Whenever this content hits the spectrum or the broad, the internet, whatever you want to call it, we'll hopefully get those winners here in the live podcast. If not, guys, you have 2 weeks to claim those prizes. If not, we will do that raffle again to a lucky entrance to get the hoodie, the Julio Jones bobblehead, and the Falcon flag. Cody, we're going to jump right into it, man. We're talking free agency signings. We're talking big names, or are we going with smart building as we have a new head coach, a new GM, a new OC, the same DC, the same defensive lineman coach? What are you looking at when it comes to as far as a position? What name sticks out to you? Is it a big move? Is it what they call a splash signing here in free agency? Or is it just something that is a smart build to take this team in the next year or two to ultimately get that Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely more of a smart move. It's not going to be anything super sexy from me. But the first name that jumps out to me is Joe Flacco. Uh, I know people are super optimistic that Michael Penix is going to be ready week 1, but my thing is always prepare for the worst, and if the better situation turns out, great. Joe Flacco had a ton of success with Cleveland while he was under Stefanski in that system. He could come in, he doesn't have to learn anything. There's not going to be growing pains for him. So that's my first thing, because obviously we all know quarterback is the most important position on a football field. That's your as much as I love Bijan, it starts with the quarterback. So I think that would be the move that I make first, is bringing in a Joe Flacco to, and even after Penix gets healthy, he has somebody that Matt Ryan is very close to, is friends with, is buddies with, obviously had good things to say about Stefanski, because, Joe, Matt even talked about, talking to Joe about Coach Stefanski. And we all know, we've all been through the hiring processes, and a reference can't necessarily get you hired, but they can definitely keep you from getting a job. And so obviously Joe had good things to say about Coach Stefanski. I think he would be interested in coming here. It's a smart move. It gives you a very serviceable, quarterback for a backup, because we don't know what Easton Stick is. His quarterback 3,
You speak about Easton Stick, Cody. He's another one that's on the free agent list that may not.
That's true, and he very well may be casualty.
Exactly.
So I think that's where you got to start. But if I wanted to go somewhere, a sexier name, a name that I keep seeing pop up is Tyreek Hill. Don't know, what the injury is going to hold him back, all that stuff. Like, I know he's, we just had James Pierce Jr. go through some, have some incidences. But, and I know Tyreek's had run-ins with the cops. I don't know if y'all saw the tweet from the cop that arrested him on the bridge in Florida, but, that gives us a wide receiver, a 2, that can come in and do something special. Cause, like him or not, at bad attitude or not, he's a good football player. And,
well, Cody, I think there's a lot of fans that would agree with you, and then there's a lot of fans that would just turn their head and say, absolutely not, Tyreek Hill does not belong in Atlanta. But it really comes down to, what do the Atlanta Falcons expect out of this next year's season? Like, you talk about big name receivers making that big splash, and I don't want to speak too much because I don't want to pop up a guy that maybe Robert may have been speaking of talking about. But when you look all around the board, there is some big names this free agency list. There, I mean, as far as linebackers, as far as receivers, I mean, Mike Evans down in Tampa says, "Hey, I'm testing out free agency this year. I think I'm done in Tampa." A lot of Tampa fans say that the reason Evans is even saying he wants out of Tampa is because of the promise to keep the head coach Todd Bowles in Tampa. Supposedly Todd Bowles has lost that locker room in Tampa Bay. That's the rumor right now on Twitter. So continue losing that locker room, Todd Bowles, because we want the NFC South this year. But Robert, when you hear what Cody speaks on, he said obviously not really what you call a splash sign, but you look at it as a smart building move with a Joe Flacco. When you have a player like Joe Flacco that has played in a Kevin Stefanski set up pretty much the remainder of his years after the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco has been in that Kevin Stefanski style of offense. When you look at how he's able to, mentor some of these younger guys that have played behind the Joe Flaccos, that have, he's sat in front of and gave them 5 to 6 wins throughout the season just for the younger guy to eventually take back over. When you look at Joe Flacco, you look at that as a smart build move. But when I talk to Robert, what does Robert see as a smart free agency building blueprint for the Atlanta Falcons to make that next step into the playoffs, or just to win the NFC South, which would be a huge task to do for the Atlanta Falcons? But if the Falcons won the NFC South, what's one free agency move that could ultimately change everything?
Well, one name that keeps popping up, and I'm actually pretty excited about the thought of this guy possibly coming to the Falcons, is John Franklin Myers from the Denver Broncos. When we let Grady Jarrett walk to Chicago last year, that really took the wind out of the sails as far as the middle of the defensive line. We lost a lot of production, lost a lot of just that whole thing about stopping the run. We really suffered last year on that. He's not a big name by any means, but he would be beneficial for us to replace If for one thing, we could put him in the middle. He's good against the run. He's big bodied. He can play the interior, but he's versatile enough. You can put him at the outside. And is he going to get 10.5 sacks like James Pierce did last year? Probably not. But if we get 6 or 7 out of him and, rotate him from outside to the middle and he can help in run stopping, that's going to solve a lot of the defensive woes that we saw last year.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about, when you look at just our team, when you look at the free agents on our roster, and you talk about, the defense side of the ball, when you talk about as far as the edge position with James Pierce Jr. possibly not being in Atlanta next year, or possibly period. You look at the linebacker position also on the free agency list. You have 4 edges right here on this list. You have 3 to 4 inside linebackers, including Caden Ellis and Troy Anderson. You look at Arnold Ebiketie, Leonard Floyd, another veteran edge rusher that could not be in Atlanta next season. David Onamata, defensive lineman. Contavious Street, defensive lineman. We're talking about guys that made progression throughout this season and throughout the last 2 seasons. When you look at Contavious Street, what he was able to do when the Atlanta Falcons landed Contavious Street, the guys were, who is Contavious Street? Why are the Atlanta Falcons going for Eagle has-beens? Why are we going for guys that were washed up? When you look at what Contavious Street brought to the Atlanta Falcons, no, that wasn't a free agency move, but it was a mid-season move. And it was a guy that came in and brought production to a run defense that was god-awful there for a little while. Contavious Street still on the squad, made noise this year. There was a lot of other guys they plugged in at defensive lineman. But when I go free agency and I look at defense side of the ball and I look at an edge, okay, this is an edge that is going to cost you some bread, and this is a splash move. This isn't a smart build move. This will be a we're here to win now type of move if you look at it. And this would obviously have to be with just a god-awful sentence to James Pierce Jr. Like, if you find out James Pierce Jr. is done for in the Atlanta Falcons organization, a person I think the Atlanta Falcons could look at, and he is a veteran player. He has been around the league. He's been on 2 different teams, I believe. I could be mistaken. I think he played for the Chargers, now the Buffalo Bills. Joey Bosa, edge. His market value is looking at $13,000, close to 14. How many years could that turn out in Atlanta if you lose a James Pierce Jr.? What kind of production could that style of player bring to Atlanta? But you could also look at a big spot to fill in your interior. But a lot of Falcons say, well, hey, Brandon Delores, this guy has really stepped it up. You look at another draft pick, Ruko Hirohu, another guy that really stepped it up in a season that you needed it when it came to losing that player Robert just spoke about, Grady Jarrett. When you lose players like that and you have your draft pick step up, it's a huge thing for the Atlanta Falcons. And I think Terry did such a great job this last draft. I will continue to give props to Terry for this last year's draft because ultimately I think it's the best draft since the Super Bowl this season. Real quick, while we're talking free agents, my guy David is in the lounge. We're going to get David in here, get his thoughts of the free agent tracker, who he's looking at, what position stands out to him, and why. Real quick, Mr. David is here with us. Let me go ahead and add him to the stage. Give me just 1 second. Mr. David, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here tonight.
Oh, nothing much. Just did a little traveling. Just got off the street and ran in join you guys. This is one of the highlights of my week. So here I am.
Absolutely. Glad to have you, Mr. David. We were just speaking about, today's show is Falcons free agency blueprint, splash signing, or smart build. What would be the way you looked at, David, if there's a name that maybe just stands out to you? Obviously, I don't know if you've had time to look at the long list of free agents. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of big names this season. A lot of those players will ultimately be grabbed here in the next week or two. The teams will franchise tag or either extend their contract. But what name stands out to you, David, and why? What position?
Of course, I'm quite sure you all hit on it. The defensive line, we know it's so much uncertainty going on because of, what's going on with our edge position. So, but like I say, I think that we got some interior people in the organization that's going to be able to cover that. So I'm still sticking with the offensive side of the ball, trying to get wide receiver 2 to solidify that. I think a lot of effort is going to be put around. I think that, everything's pointed Penix being our quarterback. So I think everything that needs to be done is to, make him comfortable. Another wide receiver, making a decision on center, whether, because I think that we definitely need a center that's going to be able to handle protections and all of that stuff. So to take that clearly off of Penix's plate, so he can just worry about, getting the receivers and everything lined up. And I think we definitely, if Newsel, does he grow into that this year? I don't know how much of that he did last year. So I think, the center position and wide receiver 2 is definitely in the top 2 positions that I think that we need to concentrate on if Penix is going to be our man.
Yep. I agree 100%. They had a lot of costly mistakes when it came to covers this year, and which is what your center is supposed to call out when he's in the line. Cody, you know that well better than anybody here on the podcast. Center has a big job when it comes to what they do. And David, you speak about a center. How do you feel about a guy that just ran Kevin Stefanski's scheme the last 3 years out of Cleveland?
See, that is something that brought to my mind. That I know that the whole offensive line on Cleveland is supposed to be free agents.
That's right.
And I think that I don't know what caliber of center. I'm not real familiar with them. So if he was doing that and he was doing protection, that's something that a smart GM would take a look at.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cody.
Well, and I think that's probably part of what Penix's problem was last year, was because he was having to make a lot of calls that the center is supposed to make. Newsel was, I don't want to say inexperienced at it, because I feel he had some good starts. So maybe if he can grow to the spot to where he can take on the full responsibilities of an NFL center or just a center in general, I think that'll go a long way. Like David said, I'm not by any means watching Cleveland Brown football at any point in time. So I don't know what their center looks like, but man, we know for one thing that Cleveland offensive line, was, partially to, give credit to for, I believe Cleveland finished in the top 10 in running 2 years in a row. That I think the 2 years that Coach Stefanski was coach of the year. And so, I mean, obviously their center and their offensive line has got at least that much going for them.
So what's up? I'm going to give a big shout out to April Thomas. First comment of the night. Shout out to April. April Thomas says, "What's up, everyone? Appreciate your comment, April. Bring your comments or your questions to the comment section. If you guys agree with what we're talking about, disagree, let us know, please, in the comment sections. Let us know who you think the Atlanta Falcons should grab in free agency as we get ready for the deadline of franchise tags slowly creeping up upon us." David, go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The center is a 10-year veteran, Ethan Pochik, and his market value says around $10 million.
Okay.
So
10 mil.
So hope that say that he got some experience on him, and 10 million. That's not nothing to shake your shake your head at. So he may have some value to the team. So we'll see how that goes.
I think a position that the Atlanta Falcons must address this season, a position that could potentially possibly get them to that next level on the defense side of the ball, would be that cornerback position. Now, is this a position you guys are keyed in at moving in with on what's on the roster? Are you guys looking at, hey, we can maybe grab a big name cornerback in this free agency class? Or are we looking at, if we find the correct guy in the draft, or taking a cornerback? Cody, we'll start with you and rotate around the panel. Is cornerback a position that free agency must look at? Are we looking for a big splash at that signing? Or are we looking at just a guy that can get us through until we can find the right guy? I'm looking at the list right here, and I see Trayvon Diggs. I'm looking at Jamal Dean from Tampa. And Trayvon Diggs' market value is sitting at 7 right now. Jamal Dean's even lower than that. So, I mean, just your guys' thoughts. There is some names out there the Falcons could, potential look at. But just your thoughts, Cody.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to hate it if you go out and get a guy, but I really think that our secondary looked, fairly decent this year. D. Alford absolutely stepped up and, filled spots in this defense. Well, we had injuries. So, I mean, you can go outside, and I wouldn't hate that. I still haven't found my wife. You could go outside and go find that, but I think it's going to be important to bring back D. Alford. Now, again, I know a lot of people are saying, well, D should be, one of your top. To me, D is definitely important, but not in this if it's going to cost you a Caden Ellis. I think Caden Ellis has got to be our number one, priority this offseason. Man, I didn't have such a problem with our secondary other than the injuries, but we have guys coming back. But man, if Stephon Diggs, would you say his market value was $7 million?
Trayvon Diggs is looking at a $7 million market value. You're looking at with Jamal Dean from Tampa, we're looking at a market value of 12. And that's really your top two cornerbacks as it stands as far as available cornerbacks. I'm sure I could go further down this list and find more names, but that's your two big names as far as cornerback.
Yeah. And so my thing is like, if those are your two big names, like I'm not going to be upset if you go and sign, Diggs.
Who's taking just random question? I'm looking at this list, and this is just me just random out names that I'm watching and looking at here. Who's taking a chance on a Von Miller for 5?
Von Miller?
Von Miller for 5. That's his market value.
God, how old is he?
I'm saying, bro.
He wouldn't.
I'd like to have had him about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 years ago.
Baller alert.
I was going to say 5 years ago.
There's some crazy names. When y'all get the chance, dude, look at that free agent list. There's a lot of names on that list. Like a lot of big names on that list.
Well, one of the big names that I would love to see, and I don't know that we could afford it, and I don't know how you would afford it, but Max Crosby, if you find a way to get him,
if you could find a way to grab.
If you could,
but you're going to have to carry. Didn't correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Max Crosby just get the big signing with the Raiders? Like he just got a contract.
He's already told them that he's already played his last down.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're going to have to find a team that is got a salary cap that is crazy amount of number to even take on that contract, and then still sign him after that contract.
Well, see, and I know we always talk about that, but I feel like the Saints are always in the negative when it comes to their salary cap, and they. Well, I think this year they're like negative $94 million. So it's just to find a way. You just got to find a way to manipulate the cap to make it work.
You sound like Raheem Morris right here. Find a way. Got to find a way.
You got to find a way.
Robert, the question goes to you. Are we looking at cornerback in free agency? Is that a splurge position for you, or are you kind of worried about a different position? We'll find cornerback later on.
I think if you can find a solid corner number 2 at a reasonable price, I think free agency, is definitely worth a look. One name that has popped up that I would definitely be interested in, he spent some time with the Rams in Tennessee last year, is Roger McCreary. Yeah. Solid guy, consistent tackler, good in coverage. Don't know what his market value would be, but I think that, I think he'd be great opposite AJ.
Mm-hmm.
Jamel Dean from the Bucks, he might be available. Again, that might be a little bit on the too expensive side. Tariq Woolen from the Seahawks, obviously coming off a Super Bowl trophy. He's got elite size and got all
really, if you look at what the Falcons have in the cornerback position, like if you're going in-house with cornerback 2, okay, when's Mike Hughes' contract? He still has another year, correct? Mike Hughes is still on contract. You have Clark Phillips. You have my guy, Davis guy, Henderson. You have, help me guys. I'm running on a blank page here. I'm kind of, you got, Helms is more of a safety. You don't have Helms. Helms is not a cornerback.
Right. Billy Bowman, before the injury, he's kind of like a hybrid corner / safety, and he showed flashes. I was really impressed with him. If he's going to come back from the injury and he can stay healthy, that's another option.
Here's a good option.
Go ahead, Cody.
Asante Samuels Jr. is a free agent.
Why didn't the Falcons go grab him in the middle of the season when he was up for grabs? The Steelers released him and he was there. Like we could have grabbed him, but we didn't even testify to do that. But I'm not against it. But a cheap deal, somebody that could potentially be somebody. David, your thoughts? Mike Hughes, is that your cornerback too going into next season?
Yes, that was my thought with this. We're looking, and while you all was calling your names out, I did a quick search of PFF grades.
He had
Jamel
he had a
Dean,
good year by their
Jamel Dean 72.5, Trayvon Diggs 56.1, McCrary 66.4, and our boy Mike Hughes 71.9.
Yeah.
So I'm here to give Mike some love. You know, it was not the games that he played; it was the games that he didn't play that hurt us.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm sitting here giving him love. I don't have a problem with him opposite AJ for what he did at his price point. I think Mike Hughes did a phenomenal job for us. I think, like saying, the games that we were hurt were the games that he was hurt. So I'm just gonna give him some love, and that's not a if we get something, okay, but I don't think that's a priority need for us, at this point.
All right. So, Falcon fans, in the comment section, give me your, I guess you could say, your dream free agency pick. Like, who do you want the Atlanta Falcons to grab and why in the comment section? We got 8 live viewers right now, guys. Hit that like button wherever you're streaming, wherever you're watching. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Cody, before we get to this next topic, I see you got the finger twitching. He's ready to say something.
Don't we get why am I blanking on his name? The guy that we were also high on earlier this season.
Defense?
Yes, secondary. He's shorter.
Kobe Bryant.
So,
No.
you talking about Phillips or
Phillips.
Clark Phillips?
Clark Phillips. Was it Clark Phillips? No.
22 last season. He didn't really see the field at all this year. Nathan Brooks.
No, I think it was Clark. Who's the one that we talked to about Mike Johnson that Mike's like, man, he's got that dog in him.
That's Clark Phillips.
Is that Clark Phillips?
But see, he didn't even really touch the field this year.
Wasn't he hurt though? I thought he was hurt.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is we get him back. We should be getting him back. And I know we were high on him. So
I was very high on Clark Phillips when he came out. And then it's like, then this year it went by, he was injured every game. And I'm like, Clark Phillips, dude, what are we doing? Like,
it's such a mismatch when he's on the field. He's so small that, I think we had him. That was a game that Mike Edmonds abused him. Is that
no, that was Kobe Bryant.
That was Kobe. Okay.
Yeah, that was Kobe.
Well, maybe Kobe makes a jump this year too, man. I mean,
but David, Clark Phillips had his share of games last season where you could tell the mixed match was just too much on the NFL level. But turning the page here, going to our next topic, guys. We got a list of free agents, guys, and it's a pretty hefty list of the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan's first year as president of football. Him, the GM, and Kevin Stefanski have a lot of decisions to make as far as franchise tagging players. They have till March the 3rd to make that happen. A lot of teams seem to be interested in Kyle Pitts, as we've seen the past week. Teams have stated that they are interested in Kyle Pitts. The Falcons do not franchise tag. So when you look at this free agency list, guys, I'm going to go around the table and you give me the one name that stands out to you that the Atlanta Falcons have to sign or have to keep in this roster. We'll start from the top. Cornerback Easton Stick, running back Tyler Algier, tight end Kyle Pitts, tight end Tegan Quintorio, tight end Felipe Franks, guard Elijah Wilkerson, David Onyemata, Kentavious Street, Arnold Ebiketie, Leonard Floyd, Khalid Kareem, D'Angelo Malone, Caden Ellis, Troy Anderson, Josh Woods, Ronnie Harrison, cornerback D. Alford, kicker Zane Gonzalez, Bradley Pinion, and offensive tackle Ryan Hayes, which is a street free agent, free to sign anywhere as of now. What name stands out to you, Cody? Why must the Atlanta Falcons find a way to keep this guy on the roster? And who you got? What you got for us?
God, there was 3 big names, so I won't take any. I'll only name one, so I don't take anything from anybody. But Caden Ellis is my guy, man. Caden Ellis is the guy that you absolutely have to keep on this defense. He is always around the ball. And we're weak at that linebacker position. Troy Anderson is not shaped up to be anything, not on the field, which has, been unfortunate because when he's on the field, Troy Anderson's, can be pretty special, but, if you can't be healthy, we just can't be doing that. So Caden Ellis to me, I feel like he's kind of the leader of that defense, especially in that next level. He wears the green sticker. So I've got to have Caden Ellis back, man. He's just been too special for this Atlanta Falcon team for the last 2 years to let him go.
I agree that Caden Ellis should be the top priority, and another name I want to throw out there is Arnold Ebiketie.
Yeah.
If we do lose James Pierce for the year or possibly permanently, he has shown that he can get after the quarterback. He could definitely fill that role. Again, I don't know if he can come up with 10.5 sacks, but
Yeah.
just as long as he's productive and on the field and healthy, I think that will definitely go a long way as far as, patching any holes and repairing any damage from, Pierce's departure.
So, Robert, I want to follow that up with a question real quick before we get to David. When you look at Arnold Ebiketie, you look at Leonard Floyd, you look at retaining Jeff Ulbrich, the style of rotation that the Atlanta Falcons ran, Leonard Floyd was initially the starter when the season started. Obviously, veteranship is a big deal in the NFL, and Leonard Floyd has played some decent games throughout his career. When you look at Leonard Floyd and you look at AK obviously being a guy that you signed, rookie contract, you traded up in the second round pick to grab. When you look at Leonard Floyd and AK, who stands out to you more? Which one do you retain, Leonard Floyd or AK?
That's a tough question. One thing if that Leonard Floyd would definitely bring to the table is, the veteran leadership that he could mentor. If Pierce comes back, and he could mentor Jalen Walker as well, and anybody that may come in through the draft this year. You guys will remember 2015 and then our Super Bowl year when we took Vic Beasley #1 overall. Does he lead the league in sacks without Dwight Freeney's mentorship? I highly doubt it.
Probably not.
I highly doubt it. So, yeah, I think Leonard Floyd would probably be it'd be valuable to retain him for that veteran leadership. But as far as production goes, it'd be hard to let Arnold Ebiketie walk.
AK has never been that big sack guy, but dude, the pressure rate has been there throughout his whole career. And people talk, the PFF grade of pressure rating has been through the roof for AK throughout his career. Maybe if you retain him, Jeff Ulbrich, with a full go for a starter under a Jeff Ulbrich, maybe we can get at least 6 sacks out of an AK. That would be sweet. I believe he had like 6 sacks one season for us, 6 or 7 sacks a couple of seasons for us. So it's like, AK can get to the quarterback. So that's a great name there, Robert. Also for you as well, Cody. Caden Ellis, big staple point of what the defense does. David, who do you see on this list and why? Who stands out to you?
Well, of course, they took both of my names. So I'm going to go Zane Gonzalez. I think, we finally got right now is what we consider a stable kicking game. I don't think that we need to go away from that. So, of course, Caden Ellis, AK, were my first choice. And then the third one I wrote down was Zane Gonzalez to keep the kicking game stable.
If you had Zane Gonzalez for remainder of the first half of the season, the Falcons win NFC South. Yep. That's just facts, Falcon fans. Real quick, head to the comment section. Ghost Pepper in the chat. What it says: here's some nose tackles I think our Falcons should target in free agency and potential fits. John Franklin Myers from Denver. Anybody from that Denver defense, brother? Put a green check by that name. DJ Reader from Detroit, and Sheldon Rankins, another great name from Houston. So some big names there at nose tackle if the Atlanta Falcons decide to go out of house instead of using the younger guys as Brandon Dolores, which, guys, names like this isn't bad to have in the rotation as far as defensive tackles, nose tackles, edges. You can never have enough of rotation pieces. And if you guys remember anything from last year, Jeff Ulbrich loved to rotate those edges. Yep. Throughout the first part of the season, man, Jeff Ulbrich really rotated out those edges. I think to find who fit his scheme, like who dominated it better. But some great names there from Ghost Pepper. Glad to have you here tonight. Appreciate the comment, Ghost Pepper. C Money's going to give his prediction of who he thinks the Falcons should definitely re-sign this offseason. And give me just one quick second. Look at this list one more time. We're talking about Caden Ellis, Troy Anderson. You're looking at 4 inside linebackers on this list, guys. You're looking at 4 edges on this list. You're looking at 2 defensive linemen. We're talking 3 tight ends on this list, 1 cornerback in D. Alford, and the kicker, as David already stated, Zane Gonzalez. A huge turning point of what the Falcons had in special team-wise when Zane Gonzalez joined. I don't want to be a guy that, grabs onto a name you guys have announced, because I agree with all three of your picks. I think all three of those guys are guys the Falcons must keep here in Atlanta. But if I had to pick one, and I'm going different from what you guys stated, I'm going cornerback D. Alford. The season D. Alford had last year, what he was able to do in that nickel position when Billy Bowman went out was huge to me. And you're going to still have that Billy Bowman. You're going to still have a D. Alford, two guys in year two of Jeff Ulbricht's scheme. I think the growth continues. D. Alford's still a very young player, still showed that he had a lot of talent left in the tank last season. And I think that speaks volumes to the Atlanta Falcons when they go into that war room and they ask Jeff Ulbricht, on this list, who's a guy the Atlanta Falcons must keep that made production? I think D. Alford is a name that comes out of Jeff Ulbricht's mouth. I think D. Alford played well enough last season to guarantee him a year or 2 year contract here in Atlanta. Yeah. Chat, if you agree or disagree with us, leave a 1 in the chat for agree, 2 in the chat for disagree. Tell us why. Give us who you think the Atlanta Falcons should grab in free agency. Who is your splash signing or your smart build move for the Atlanta Falcons, guys? Tonight's show was strictly about free agency. We've about hit on the free agency list. Guys, when you look at the receiver position, and this is going to go towards more of a question towards, is this a draft decision or is this a free agency decision? Cody, Robert, David, when you look at the receivers in the free agency class, it's a pretty nice receiver class. It's a pretty nice draft receiver class as well coming into the draft. Combine just now getting ready to kick off. We're going to be able to watch these guys. What stands out to you on this free agency list? Are you going free agency for the receiver fix, or are you waiting for that second round draft pick for your forever receiver 2 in Atlanta?
Go ahead, David.
I think that you got to address it both ways. I think that, the wide receiver room is so in depth right now that I think that you're going to have to bring a veteran presence in and then bring somebody in the draft to grow. And the name that, I've been looking at, this week is Romeo Dobbs.
Mm-hmm.
That's a name that, if I have my wish list of, who we can get and at a reasonable amount, I think Romeo Dobbs. And then, look to the draft, second, third round, to build from there. What's the guy from Robert? What's the guy's name from Tennessee that you're high on?
Roger McCray at the corner.
No. From the Tennessee Volunteers, Bizel or something like that. Is that his name?
Oh crap! Hold on just a moment.
My bad. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
It's all right. These dogs are in the background barking. They've got me a little bit distracted.
All good, brother. We're uncut here at DFU. That's how it is. Cody, do you have a receiver, or are you looking more of a draft class type of receiver? Because, when I look at this free agency receiver class, dude, I'm kind of drooling at the mouth when I look at this.
That's what I'm looking at too. Like, here's some names that stood out to me immediately. Tyreek Hill, obviously, Deebo Samuel from Washington. Where'd the other guy go? DeAndre Hopkins is a free agent, unrestricted free agent. Where was it? Hunter Renfrow from Carolina is an unrestricted free agent. Man, there's a lot of good guys out here. Rondell Moore from Minnesota.
No, we need to speak about Rondell Moore. Condolences to Rondell Moore.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, big sad news about Rondell Moore. Definitely condolences to his family, all his friends. Kyle Pitts went on Instagram today and posted some clips of him and Rondell in the offseason, years past, giving his condolences for Rondell Moore. Definitely a sad thing, and just definitely not football related. But if anybody's going through some stuff like that, man, reach out to somebody, dude, because the world's a much better place with you in it than you not being here. So I just wanted to address that real quick as we speak about the receiver position, because, man, what a talented guy Rondell Moore was. Ray McLeod probably wouldn't have never even been anything in Atlanta if Rondell Moore never got injured. Really, if you look at it that way. But, some of those names you spoke about, Cody, a name that stood out to me, and not a guy that I want to grab, and I'm just going to throw this out there, Deebo Samuel. I'm highly against that. I do not want a Deebo Samuel in Atlanta. The only reason why I say that, and it's kind of what David spoke on with the Tyreek Hill situation. Debo Samuel comes with so much baggage, so much drama when it comes to the years that he had with Shanahan. Weren't that great towards the end. Obviously, Shanahan was I can't say that on the podcast. I could, but I won't. But that is one of our topics tonight, guys. And I jumped to that, a free agent signing that I do not want. That would be Debo Samuel for me. Robert, were you able to find the receivers that you like on this list?
Yeah, there was actually two from Tennessee. There was Chris Brazel and Braylon Staley.
Chris Brazel, that's the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was over 62 receptions, 1,017 yards, 16.4 average per catch, 9 touchdowns, had a season long of 72 yards. Braylon Staley, 68 receptions, 837, 12.3, and 6 touchdowns. So, that would be good production. I mean, especially for rookies in the NFL.
Yeah.
But back to the free agency point, I agree with you on that, Chase. I definitely do not want Debo Samuel. No, that would just be, for one, he's just getting too old, and number two, we don't need that drama.
Yeah, a receiver that really stands out to me, guys, and I hate to cut you off, Robert, because it's a name that's been thrown around a couple of times, and it's a guy that our guy Matty Ice played with his rookie season, Alec Pierce out of Indianapolis. He's had some nice catches. He even had some nice catches against the Falcons when we played. You could get Alec Pierce on a decent deal. He's coming off his rookie contract. You're not talking a crazy amount of money either, and it's a young guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing that I worry about him, I mean, I'm high on him. I would love to see him in Atlanta. I think he would be a pretty good number 2 option. The only thing I really worry about is, his skill set is basically, it's almost identical to Drake London's.
Drake London, yeah, absolutely right.
But, I mean, then again, I mean, with pretty much identical skill sets, you got one on each side. It's like pick your poison,
Yeah.
Choose your defeat. I think one thing that's missing, though, is, a third guy in the slot, a speedster. One thing that I think would really make Penix or whoever, our quarterback will be in week 1. Of course, the Penix is our guy from here on out. It doesn't really have to be a big name, and I'm not sure exactly who's available, but, look at all the years early in his career when Wes Welker was being recycled between the Dolphins and the Chargers. He goes to New England, and Tom Brady turns him into a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
That would be that was really what I was hoping when we signed Scotty Miller a couple of years ago, that he would be that guy.
Yeah.
But
when we signed Scotty, I was like, okay, this is our Taylor Gabriel. Like this is our turbo. This is who we got here, but not the case there. David,
well, then again, that was Arthur Smith's bland offense. So
yeah, absolutely. David, when you look at these names, another name that just popped up on my screen here, Jawan Jennings. He was a great guy for the 49ers this past season. Had put up some nice games. Injured a little bit throughout the year, but ended up having a strong season. You look at some of the names, you even have a Mike Evans on this list for 13, if you're paying 13 for Mike Evans. David, what name stands out to you at the receiver position?
Like I said, I threw my name out there, Romeo Doubs.
Romeo Doubs. Okay, you did say that. Romeo Doubs. That's right. Yeah. So Romeo Doubs would be your. That's who you are if you go receiver in fantasy, Romeo Doubs. Just going through this top 50 list here as we get ready to close the topic or the podcast out. A name that stands out to me also here on this list, if you look at some of the edges that are coming out this year, Khalil Mack, you talk about, where'd he go? I just seen it. I'd have to go through here and number them. We'll do that for the next podcast. We'll do like a top 5 free agency list of who we have on our list. But there's some big names, guys. There's a lot of names the Falcons could look at as far as if the James Pierce Jr. thing leads out to a year, 2-year, or indefinite suspension. We'll find that out soon. But the Falcons have to move forward regardless of what happens here in Atlanta. Ghost Pepper says Alfred and Ellis should be keepers, even though Zane Gonzalez proved to be a reliable option, 19 of 22 on field goals. I think we still need to have a kicking competition to ensure max stability. I agree to a point because the Falcons were supposed to be doing that last season, and that wasn't the case. The Atlanta Falcons had it in the middle of the season like 3 times. And if you're trying kickers out 3 times mid-season, there's something wrong. You have a kicker issue. So what about the cat that they were heavy on that never got a chance? He was from the leagues. He was on our roster. I forget his name.
The kicker?
Young cat. Yeah, the kicker. He was a young guy.
Oh, from
the English
from
league,
Germany or something. Yeah,
Germany.
yeah, something like that.
Oh, can't remember his first name. His last name was Krieg.
Oh, Lenny Craig.
Lenny Craig, yeah.
I think he got picked up by somebody else, didn't he? He's not.
Did he?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
He may have. I knew he was on the roster for a while and never got the potential to do it. But a lot of names to look at in free agency, guys. A lot of topics to talk about as we get ready to see what happens in, as far as franchise tag and Kyle Pitts. Before we get out of here, I want to ask you guys that. Now that it's here, March the 3rd is coming up. It's February the 22nd. You have like a week and a half, 2 weeks to make this decision. Do the Atlanta Falcons franchise tag Kyle Pitts off his rookie contract? Cody, we'll start with you, David, Robert, and I'll close it out.
Yeah. Right now, I think, I was listening to John Fricky on the radio today, and it was actually a really good idea, and I liked it. I think right now they're trying to sign Kyle Pitts, and that's why we haven't seen him tagged yet. So they're trying to get him to come back on the cheaper side. But if not, what the Falcons could do, if I understood this right, you can tag him as an unrestricted free agent, let other teams still, send him offers. And if he decides to go somewhere else, we get 2 first-round picks for him. As far as that goes, like if the Cowboys were to come in and be like, yeah, we really want him, we tag him, and then the Cowboys are like, yeah, we're going to offer you, 6 years, X amount of, money, and the Falcons could be like, okay, you could take him, but we get 2 first-round picks for it.
But they have to say in the deal if he signs elsewhere.
I don't think it has to say in the deal. I think if you tag him as how you had to tag him a certain way. I can't remember if it was unrestricted or whatever. However, you had to tag him a certain way that if he did decide to go play for another team after you tagged him and you didn't want to match the offer, that team had to give up 2 first-round picks for it. So
that'd be sweet.
I'd be okay with that. You tag him, and then somebody comes in and makes you an offer you can't refuse, and you get.
I think once you tag him,
he's probably
off.
here. Yeah. Because I don't think there's a team that would do the 2 first rounds for it.
No, I don't either. David, your thoughts on Kyle Pitts? The Falcons franchise tag KP, the unicorn.
Well, I definitely think that tag him, try to work out an extension for him, but you don't let him walk out the door for free. We've invested into him, and I think I think walking away scot-free at this point. Yeah, I think that he's somebody that we can get some good production from. So it just won't be okay. We gonna waste that money. I think he's top 5 tight end in the league right now. So for what we can get from out of him or for him by tagging him, I think that's the best move going forward.
Yeah, and I don't know the number exactly, Dave, but I think you shared it in the group chat. The number was an outrageous amount to franchise tag a KP. Yeah. So I'm leading more on the franchise tag Kyle Pitts, find a way to keep him in Atlanta. Robert, your thoughts? Chat also, give me a 1 in the chat for franchise tag KP. Give me a 2 in the chat for let him walk. Robert, as we close this topic out, are you keeping KP or are you going to let him test free agency?
You definitely got to try to keep him. His production improved significantly last year. I think now with a different offensive scheme and a different offensive coordinator, I think that, if we do sign him, I think his production will be off the charts. If we do tag him, to Cody and David's points, yes, we could get something in return if somebody swoops in and wants to make that offer. And, the team that Cody brought up, the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is that much of an egomaniac that he would give up 2 first-round picks. So, that could be beneficial, and,
yeah.
Would I like 2 first-round picks in exchange for Kyle Pitts? Oh, yeah, that would be wonderful, especially, since we gave up a first-round pick this year for a player that I was high on but is now uncertain. But, just either way, I think that, we at least got to make the effort to keep Kyle in the building.
Ricky says, no doubt it's a one for him. Keep Kyle Pitts. That's 4 keeps of Kyle Pitts. Ricky with the 5th says, you got to make sure you find a way to keep Kyle Pitts. Guys, we're getting ready to close this podcast out. The winners of last podcast still hasn't came through, guys. I'm going to give them 2 more podcasts to claim their prizes. If not, we're going to have to move on with the raffle and let somebody else win it, because we got Aries Falcon that had won one of the prizes. We had Meet Washington that won a prize, and also I believe it was Jay Black that won a prize as well. So, guys, if you know Aries Falcon or Meet Washington or Jay Black, get them here on the stream so they can claim their prizes. If not, we've got to do the raffle again another night to we got to keep it moving, guys. Got to keep it pushing. So I appreciate everybody that coming through. Appreciate Ghost Pepper, Ricky Smith, April Thomas, Roy Monday that still hasn't found his wife, guys. Shout out to Roy Monday. Maybe that's a problem that you can solve, or maybe it's a problem you don't want to solve. We'll just leave it at that. So shout out to Ghost Pepper here with the last comment. It says, coaching fit Stefanski as a tight end. I cannot even pronounce that
word.
Aficionado, and may want a year to elevate Pitts in his system. You may see a Kyle Pitts here another season in Atlanta if the Falcons find a way. I think they do. That's just my opinion. I think the Falcons find a way to keep KP here on the team. You drafted him such an early draft pick. You want to see the production. I think him and Penix have a great relationship. Him and Dre, KP stated he wants to be in Atlanta. He loves playing in Atlanta. So we'll see what happens, guys, as free agency is right around the corner, and we'll get ready to kick it off with you guys very soon. So be sure to ring that bell. Cody, with that being said, man, we're at our 52 mark of the night show. Free agency, Falcon, blueprint, splash signing, or smart build episode. Who knows? Because I lost count. I stopped putting the numbers on the podcast. So I had to go back and count where we're at. But Cody, shout outs for tonight, man.
Yeah, shout out to you guys coming on a Sunday night, talk Dirty Bird football, even while there's not much going on. Definitely looking at free agency and the NFL Combine, so we can really get into it. Shout out to, the viewers, obviously, without y'all, there is no us. So, keep liking, commenting, push us out into Falcon universe, through the YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, whatever's working at the time, so we can get out to more Falcon fans. And like you said, Chase, I totally forgot about the whole Rondale Moore, situation. Guys, if you're struggling, and this is something that's not taken serious enough, and this is one of the reasons I love when John Abraham comes on here, because it's something so important to him, and it should be for all of us. Guys, you're not alone. It's not weak to talk to somebody. It's not, talk to somebody. If you're struggling, man, find somebody. Find somebody to talk to, because men's mental health is not taken as serious as it should. We care, reach out to us on the podcast, man. I don't care. I've got, my wife deals with, that kind of thing, through stuff that she's done. It takes 8 minutes, guys, to talk somebody from that edge. And I've got 8 minutes, if you've, to talk to you, whatever it is. So don't hesitate, guys, if you're struggling. It's super important. All of our mental health is, and like you said, Chase, the world's always better with you in it than without you. So other than that, guys, rise up.
Absolutely. Rise up, Cody. Glad to have you tonight, brother, as we'll have many more podcasts to bring you Falcon content, and always rise up from DFU. Shout out to Ghost Pepper, says, good show. Looking forward to many more. Appreciate you, Ghost Pepper. Glad to have you in the comment section tonight, brother. You kept it moving with the comments. Appreciate you being here. Maggie's Production says, hey, fellas, Miss Maggie, appreciate you being here tonight. We're actually fixing to get ready to log out. Please check us out. Look at the review and give your thoughts on free agency, who the Falcons should target if you agree with what we said. That goes for everybody that's tuning in late, guys. Check us, replay the live podcast, and some great topics to chat about here in the comment section. Robert, shout outs for tonight, homie.
Well, shout out to the good Lord above for another day above the dirt. It's always a good day. Shout out to you guys for letting me be a part of the best podcast in the world. And I do want to touch on the point about Rondale Moore. I'm not ashamed to admit, and pardon the beeping in the background. I got some pork ribs in the oven that are ready. But like Cody said, it's not weak to ask for help. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm seeing a therapist myself. As a lot of y'all know, I lost my wife almost 2 years ago. It was a horrible ordeal.
Mhm.
But if you're struggling, if you need to reach out to, even if it's just like Cody said, for a few minutes, just to talk to someone, we'd rather talk to you. We'd rather hear your story than attend your funeral. So
Yeah,
just don't ever hesitate to reach out. You might find that sliver, that spark that can get you back on track. And as always, thanks to our viewers, and we appreciate y'all, our subscribers. And of course, shout out to my family, Brianna, Peyton, Zach, and Christy. I love y'all. And as always, rise up.
Rise up, Mr. Robert. Glad to have you tonight, brother. It's always a pleasure to talk Falcon football with the boy, Mega Biff. David, give your shout outs for tonight, man. Glad to have you here as well. Recognized game in the building.
All right. Like the other guys, we're gonna start it off, by wishing, Rondell Moore's family, my condolences. I was rushing back into myself, from a funeral for, not my brother-in-law's aunt passed, and so we went to, support him today. Real close, big family. It was nice homegoing, but it was still an empty spot that was left in somebody's heart. Some people don't handle that type of stuff well. And like I said, mental health awareness is something that we cannot take lightly. You never know what someone's going through. And like I said, just reach out and give somebody a hug. Touching cures a lot of things. You never know what somebody's going through. A kind word here, there, can bring somebody back from the edge. And a mean word might push somebody closer to the edge. So, let's pay attention to our brothers and sisters, the people that are closest to us, and even a stranger. Just take some time just to shed some love into this world, because God knows that we need it right now in the times that we're going through. So, with that, I'll, give a shout out to the rest of the DFU crew, my family, the good Lord up above. Recognized game.
Rise up, Mr. David. I'll start off as well, man. As you guys said, Rondell Moore, prayers to his family, all that was affected by that situation. Not something lightly that to be taken. Avid sent the news in the group chat last night, and it kind of I was like, I don't know the man personally, but my heart kind of ached a little bit. Like Rondell Moore, 25 years old, such a talented guy, a bright future ahead of him. So, definitely a better place with people like that in the world, so always reach out, guys. You may not know me personally, but my Facebook Messenger is always open to chat. So, with that being said, man, turn the page a little bit, rise up as always. Appreciate all the comments tonight, guys. You guys really came through and left some great comments, as time on the stream's been a little slow the past 2 weeks with internet issues, with us not being correctly on schedule. So I apologize to the fans that watch DFU. We'll try to get better at that. We'll try to get back on track with our Friday night shows. So just stick with us, guys. Ring the bell so you know when we go live. We got some more content coming to you next Friday at 8 o'clock. Back on 10-hour days, guys, so no longer 9 o'clock shows. We're back at 8 o'clock on Friday night. Also, if you guys have messaged me on Facebook and I haven't commented back, it's just been a busy week. I'll be sure to get to your comments. A lot of Falcon fans reach out just to talk football, so I'll be sure to get back to you guys and chat football with you. But I want to give a big shout out the past month of DFU, guys. The growth that the channel has gained in the last month is a huge appreciation to everybody that's volunteered and watched the stream or commented or just came by and dropped a like to get us out to more Falcon fans. Appreciate you guys. A big shout out to the wife in the living room right now with the 2 toddlers that are screaming their heads off. I'm sure you heard it throughout the podcast. Shout out to the wife. Such a heavy load our wives handle, guys. Gotta give our appreciation to them, because
they do.
Man, they really handle a lot throughout the household. So big shout out to the wife. Big shout out to you guys for being here tonight. And big shout out to Cody's dirty, funny-minded brain, because I just picked up on that. But it's always a fun time here at DFU, man. Appreciate you guys for coming through. As always, rise up, A-Town down. We out of here, man. Appreciate y'all.